I started my work in the sailing community because I used to teach sailing. I grew up sailing, I taught sailing. I had a lot of contacts there already. So when I started shooting it, I kind of had the personal connections and then some word of mouth, like, oh, she's not just teaching anymore. She's also shooting regattas or things like that. So word of mouth definitely helped. But then when I'm trying to find new brands, um, it's for me, a lot of email marketing, a lot of cold
Mhm.
emailing, cold calls. I don't do a ton of it. Maybe it's a generational thing. Especially post COVID, a lot of numbers, like people are at home, so they're not sharing personal phones. And I used to do more print marketing. Like I tried to aim for quarterly, and then I aimed for twice a year, more like seasonal. Q2 and Q, no, Q1, Q3 is what I used to aim for. But again, post COVID, people aren't in the office, so they're not necessarily going to get print mailers. So I stopped doing that. So it's really heavily relying on a lot of emailing, whether it's a direct email to kind of personally solicit someone. I think that my work would really work well for what your brand is. Here's my portfolio, or just a cold email where I have like feature promos of my work, and I'm just kind of cold emailing it to a bigger list. I've gotten hits off of both for sure. And I'm also listed, aside from being listed with ASMP, American Society of Media Photographers, I'm also listed with Wonderful Machine. So I'm in
Nice.
their directory as well. So their value extends so much further than I think a lot of people realize. So ASMP, I give outreach lectures for them too. So ASMP is, I think, the longest standing industry group built for commercial photographers. But they do welcome all photography, whether it's more retail or editorial. They just recently merged with NAMPA, the North American
Mhm.
Nature Photographers Association. So they're programming well. It's born for commercial photographers. It can work for any photographers, especially those who are self-employed. Just like learning the ins and outs of what copyright is or what's happening on a legal level, having access to resources in that regard. Just having a network of peers to ask questions off of, because so often we're operating in these little solo bubbles. We don't have
Mm.
office space. I'm in my house right now. Like, we don't have office spaces necessarily with a bunch of other people. Like, once you leave school, you don't have that network to immediately turn to someone and ask a question. Hey, does this sound right to you? Or what do you think about this pitch? So just having that network of people is beyond valuable. And I'm part of the New England chapter. We're one of the biggest chapters, apparently. I just learned that as well. And then the other educational programming, the workshops they put on, they have gear swaps, they have socials, so, and they're really trying to pick up, post-COVID programming back to where it was pre-pandemic too. So I can't speak highly enough to them. And then Wonderful Machine, I've known their name for over a decade now too, and their list of services just continues to grow, like beyond just estimating and negotiating contracts to helping find additional crew, just a la carte help with production. Um, the marketing side of it, whether you're just listed in the directory or they're sending out all these e-blasts and social promos, they just do some great work over there for sure. I just used them to help with the website portfolio rebuild and kind of just like get another set of eyes to help me organize how things go on my website. Just the consultation as well has just been great. Um,
Nice.
they're awesome, and yes, I have seen Craddock as a partner for both. So it's nice to be in communities where gatekeeping is not the norm, where it is more
Mhm.
about sharing and taking care of everybody, because just as everyone rises together, it's only going to promote the health of the industry as a whole. Um, Especially with, like I was saying before, the access for higher quality digital cameras right now. A lot of people who are jumping into it, not coming from a background of copyright or education, they're just kind of like really talented behind the camera and they're going to business for themselves. It's the more I try to educate them about what, not necessarily just rates, but like if you're going to negotiate with a client who's a smaller budget client, I have plenty of them too. Always negotiate, knowing what you're leaving on the table. No, negotiate on your terms. Don't give away everything. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater if you can help it. Like, there are tactics to negotiating to make sure that the industry kind of still survives as a whole and that you can still pay your bills. Like, there's a happy medium to be had for sure. And I think everyone would expect someone fresh out of college to probably have lower rates, or someone who's just picking up a camera to, because their overhead tends to be lower. They don't necessarily have the portfolio. They're willing to take that risk. Just to kind of build connections and portfolio. But I still try to educate younger people about this might be what you're comfortable charging right now, but just know it could also have this value. And it's not about telling them what you should charge. It's about saying, what are you comfortable with, knowing what the market will bear. And when I was finishing school, the digital age had definitely set in, but the industry didn't necessarily know what that meant for photographers yet. There was still a lot of like, how do we handle rights, especially in the internet age? It was 2011, so social media hadn't really taken off yet. So I'm kind of like learning every couple of years. I think I restructure or redo something in my contracts just to kind of make an adjustment as things change so quickly. I'm personally finding that I tend to package a lot of licenses more than maybe someone who's been in the industry longer than I have. And I'm finding, especially for smaller to mid-sized clients, it is their budgets, even my big clients, all their budgets are shrinking. They need more and more content, but their budgets haven't grown to accommodate that. So they need content from more channels, but I'm able to limit it a lot easier with terms, with duration, like with the term length. So yeah, okay, you can have it for all your digital channels for 2 years instead of when they ask for everything forever in perpetuity and all the words that they drop. Be like, all right, what are your actual needs right now? If you don't actually have any print marketing or print ads planned, then let's just focus on what you need to do now with this content. We can always change it down the line. I always try to keep it flexible and show them where you can upgrade in the future, or I'll help remind you when the term limit is ending. I make all of my licenses renewable at a slightly discounted rate than originally to help encourage them to just keep renewing. Half the time, if I ever concede to a perpetual license, it's because I know that that content has a shelf life anyway, where they're going to be rebranding, or that style is clothing that sells out after a season, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, maybe you use 2 of these shots 10 years down the line, but generally speaking, you're really not gonna be. So yeah, I'm packaging a lot based on whether it's print, or a lot of the digital is getting packaged together, but I will use print as like kind of a separate category because people will know if you're hitting print, that is a print license. And then term limits as well. It's really helping keep the budget where they need it to be. So yeah, I can still get work and they can still get what they need out of it. And trying to show them that I'm a resource for them too. I'm not here trying to just like nickel and dime them. It's more like, no, I'm here to help you understand what this means. Because a lot of my clients these days, again, with the internet age, are people who just like had a great idea and started their own business out of the basement of their house. They're not coming with a marketing background or anything like that. So they don't necessarily know. So I really do try to have that extra conversation of education of what this is, try to explain it as best as possible, see where they're willing to negotiate and show that I'm also willing to negotiate and I'm here to help them understand. I'm not here to hold them back. I'm here to help them fit within their budget and their needs for sure. And I definitely have used photo quote several times just to help get an idea of something that might be outside my norm of what I might need to price out. And my region is a little bit below, I would say, what the software typically spits out, so I can adjust for that accordingly. But it's also a great way. I'll do that, and I'll do sometimes if I just go to Getty, like their stock site, which is a big name, a recognizable name, and I'll try to find a similar image and price it out and show them like, here are a few industry examples of what the going market rate is. Here's what I'm willing to do to help you. So it's kind of good to like send screenshots basically of established software or names where they can be like, oh, okay, I'm getting it now.
Right.
Or just explaining production costs. Like, it's not just me with the camera all the time, though I do that a lot. It's also like, all right, this is what my assistant will cost. This is what a stylist would cost. Like, there's other costs I think they don't know unless you take the time to educate, and it goes a long way. And I think some clients, you can tell pretty early on whether a client really understands the added value you're trying to deliver, or if they're really just using you as a camera. And, both are fair. Like, some people just really need the shot. They don't necessarily care about all their marketing matching or something like that. And some people really do see the value in partnering with the same creatives long term. So you can find out pretty early on whether they're going to get it or whether they're negotiable and flexible and whether they're the right fit. And I think that's one of the skill sets where a lot of creatives can fail really when they're trying to start their own business, is that there's so much client relations and communication that has to happen, especially up front for a shoot to be successful. And it's really about managing expectations for clients, being so clear and direct in what you can deliver, what's really doable, what might be doable without any guarantees, and what's definitely not doable. And really kind of like, okay, you've got this great idea. Here's how I would go about executing it. What are your thoughts? And if they want to make changes to that, or if they just trust you to run with it, it can really depend. But just communicating as much as possible up front goes such a long way.
You've talked a little bit about how the photography industry has changed, and throughout you've sprinkled in staying in touch with past clients. So can you share a little bit, like, did you have a newsletter or like how do you stay
Yeah.
in touch with them?
So I have well, really three main email lists I have set up. So because I do a lot of fine art work, that's kind of like the retail branch of what I do, where I'm selling to just people buying things. I have that general newsletter that I'm sending out more like promotions for my fine art, and then I have my photo like commercial work forward e-blasts about once a month. That's just kind of like feature photos, a feature project, hyperlinks to the relevant locations. That's that. And I've got, because of my sector, I have a marine newsletter for all my boat builders and boating and yachting people. And then I have my more general outdoor lifestyle, much larger list, because the boaters, they don't need to see anything besides the boats, and everyone who's in the outdoor sector, they could care less about how many different ways I can shoot different types of boats half the time. They'll see it sometimes, but it's less relevant, so I try to keep that marketing much more relevant to them. So I'll put current and past clients on there, but really for past clients, I'm doing more direct emails. I'm doing the direct follow-ups, usually around March, when the holidays are totally done with. Everyone's kind of settled into their new year, but it's ahead of my shooting season, which really picks up in May more often, especially June. So I try to just give them a nudge, like, hey, it was great working with you on this last project. I might send them like a happy holidays or a thank you at the end of a year as well.